On Campus is brought to you by the UWI Mona, inspiring excellence, producing leaders. On Campus, a weekly look at what's happening on the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. On campus today, the University Archives, keeping the record straight. There's our regular campus calendar, but first, UE News. The average person, if asked, would be hard-pressed to explain the work of an archivist. Archival records are those documents that are preserved by their creators, successors, or an appropriate archive institution because of their legal value or enduring historical significance. The University Archives are a treasure house of information on the institution's history and development. On campus today, Curator of the UWI Museum, Dr. Suzanne Francis Brown, discusses the discipline of archiving and an upcoming event to commemorate International Archives Day with Assistant Archivist at the University Archives, Dr. Stanley Griffin.
Dr. Stanley Griffin, just what is an archive and how it differs from a library?
When you step into a library, generally, you would walk into a space that would have information on a wide variety of subjects or themes or materials. When you walk into an archive, generally, you're walking into a space that is specific.
You mean specific to a topic?
Specific to a topic, specific to a theme or a mandate. So, for example, a National Archives, for example, the National Archives of Jamaica, would have records that are specific to the Jamaican history, Jamaican experience, the Jamaican people. National Library would have not just that sort of specific information, but also information about other publications of other experiences and of other people. The University Archives is specific to the operations and the history and the experiences of the university itself, the University of the West Indies. Also, libraries tend to have published materials that are not necessarily unique and irreplaceable. You could buy or rebuy materials. Arguably, there are rare books and so on and so forth, but there is a publication collection that is built. Mm-hmm. Archives tend to be unique and irreplaceable simply because they are representing and representing a particular institution or a particular person that was created organically. In other words, there is only one copy, one version, one manifestation of that person's or that organization's work. So the organization of archival materials are based on the way the materials were used initially or organically. So one of the major processes in terms of organizing archival material is to, one, learn the history of the organization or the person, and then you arrange or you catalog the materials in such a way to reflect that.
Are there any particular special regulations or standards, whether internationally, regionally, or locally, that you need to bear in mind as you do your work?
Yes, the University Archives is an active member of the International Council on Archives, especially the Caribbean branch, CARBICA, and we adhere to the standards and practices outlined by the ICA.
So let's just talk a little bit about the University Archives, because of course it's a program that goes across the university, not simply at Mona.
Right. The University Archives and Records Management program is an integral part of the operations, the administrative framework of the university. In 1970, the Royal Charter of the university stipulates that the registrar, either the university registrar or the campus registrar, is the custodian of records. And so the university archivist and the campus records managers perform that custodial role on behalf of their various registrars. We are therefore we can be found in all 4 campuses. As of this academic year, the Open Campus recently appointed their own campus records manager. So yes, we are physically represented on all 4 campuses.
Has that been the case from the very start? When did the University Archives actually come into being?
From the earliest days, the leadership of the university identified the need for a university archives. But the concept was not as we see it today. The concept for a university archives then was a space where West Indiana would be collected, be maintained, preserved, and made available to researchers and students. That concept now is the West India
collection
in
the libraries.
in the 4 campus libraries. What developed, however, in 1991 was an administrative archives, a space that would have and maintain the collections that are of enduring value to the administration or to the history of the university itself. So we now have a balanced approach. The libraries are in charge of the regional memory, and the University Archives is responsible for the corporate memory of the UWI.
Assistant Archivist Dr. Stanley Griffin speaking about the work of the University Archives. Up next, Curator of the UWI Museum, Dr. Suzanne Francis Brown, continues her discussion with Assistant Archivist at the University Archives, Dr. Stanley Griffin, about commemorating International Archives Day.
Dr. Griffin, talk about the whole notion of the International Archives Day celebration and what the University Archives is doing about that.
Well, the International Archives Day has a very long and rich history. Starting in the 1930s, actually, the International Council of Archives came out of a permanent consultative committee on archives to the then League of Nations. And the council itself, as we know it today, was established on the 9th of June in 1948 as part of the work of UNESCO. This day also is significant for us here at the University Archives simply because on the 9th of June 2010, our temporary facility was engulfed in flames. And it really forced the need for a more permanent solution to maintaining and managing the university's corporate memory. Out of that day, the following year in 2011, we had our first exhibition, again highlighting the records of the university and celebrating the fact that we have recovered from this fire intact. Fortunately, we lost only supplies and not materials, and we are grateful to the activism of past university archivists who insisted on the various preventative measures and preservation measures that protected and saved the university archives on that day. Since then, we've had several activities to commemorate. In 2012, however, we didn't really have an activity per se, but we moved into a permanent and purpose-built repository here in the Vice Chancellery or the Regional Headquarters building. Again, something to celebrate as it was long in coming. In 2013, we had a wonderful panel discussion with various historians of varying ranks in terms of academic ranks, speaking about their archival research experiences. Last year, in 2014, we had an online exhibition with staff from the University Archives and the University Museum sharing about their particular archival record in the University Archives that they are fond of. This year, having a Vice Chancellor share on his research and how the uses and abuses of archives have happened, especially in various spaces like South Africa, it speaks about the real value an archives have for a society.
So it'll bring something special. And of course, the public is invited.
The public is definitely invited.
We want to remind people a little bit of the details. So the archives will be having what we call a cameo exhibition at the University Museum, the UWI Museum, which is also in the regional headquarters building.
In the blue building across from
the main gate.
The main gate, the regional headquarters building.
And that will be running from the 15th of June.
The 15th of June to perhaps the 15th of July.
Archives has had 2 basic sets of reviews. One has related to the history of the university itself, and the other to the museum, which I presently have the honor to be in charge of.
About some important slides, some photos I found in the archives, very useful to showing a visual depiction of what the colonial officials wanted education for black people to be like, particularly agricultural.
Freedom, I'm not going to say nothing but freedom because freedom is really important. But we have all of this stuff to analyze, and I'm just saying, look what I found in the archives.